Dr. Crystal here. If you're interested in fueling your active life, this show is for you. Stick around to learn how with registered dietitian Marcus Harris.
You're listening to Live Foreverish, a show dedicated to helping you live just a little longer. Here's your hosts, Dr. Mike and Dr. Crystal Gossard.
All right, so we're excited to have this show. We know that fitness is really in now with men and women who are kind of entering their menopausal years know that they need to lift heavy, and so we decided to have a guest on. You see, I'm here. Dr. Mike is uh, taking care of other business, so it's just going to be me with our guest, Marcus Harris. He is a registered dietitian and a diabetes educator. He's an experienced with 15 years of experience and background working with clients to help them achieve their health and wellness goals. And he's going to bring us into the world of fitness and nutrition and all the requirements that's needed for us to lead healthy lives. Marcus, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I'm excited. Not every day I get to pop onto a podcast, but when I do, I'm always pumped up. So let's get into it. Let's do it.
All right. And so I just want to let the audience know how I met you. Every year, Life Extension attends the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics conference, their food and nutrition conference. And we're usually there showcasing new innovations, just bringing more awareness as the Life Extension brand to the dietetic community, registered dietitians and nutritionists. And so Marcus was there and he came and stopped by our booth and we started talking and I just felt like he would make a great guest for our show. And here we are now, several months later. That was back in October 2025. And here we are now, February 2026. And Marcus, it has graciously agreed to join us on the show and just give us some insight on the world of nutrition. We've had a shakeup, Marcus.
Yeah, we have.
A recent shakeup with the new 2025-2030 dietary guidelines for Americans. It's hot off the press. And so I feel like we have to start there. We originally weren't planning on talking about that, but I do want your opinion. You know, the nutrition landscape is changing and a little bit different. A lot of things have remained the same in the guidelines. And so I just want your initial thoughts on the guidelines and maybe adding to that in general, what does good nutrition look like to you? And then we'll get into more of the specifics with an active lifestyle. But I would just say from a foundational perspective, how would you define good nutrition and how does that compare to what we're seeing now as far as our guidelines?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and I think that the good nutrition would be best kind of approach from an individual standpoint. So I think it first starts with preference. You know, there's a lot of good nutrition that you can have, and it can look a lot of different ways. And I feel that as long as the food is whole food, meaning that you can grab that food and eat that food, you can put that food in a pot or a pan and cook that food and eat that food, then that's where we begin. So minimizing the processed foods and just increasing whole foods. And it may look different for each individual from our preferences. No matter what side of the food pyramid that you are standing on, that it be the left side with the meat or the right side with the vegetables, which the new food pyramid did just come out. Whatever that may be, I think it boils down to grabbing more whole food. And that is the message behind the new food pyramid. So I like that much more than the food pyramid in itself, is the message behind it. And that is eat more real food.
Yeah, I have no problems with that. I love that message as well. Now, what are your thoughts on the pyramid versus the plate? That's
Oh,
just a little side thing. That's the
so
other part of
let's
the
talk about it.
controversy. If you're listening, it was a plate. It was previously the pyramid, and then when they transitioned to the plate, I was like, okay, I can get with this plate because that's what people look down at every single day. How do you feel about it?
So let's talk about it. So we know when the food pyramid came, it was what, in 1992, it lasted for like 10 years, and the plate came in, and it stood the test of time for 20 years, over 20
Hmm.
years to be
Hmm.
exact. And then now here comes the upside down inverted pyramid. Again, I'm gonna just say it like this. I like the message behind the new pyramid, but
Okay,
I do like I mean, it's a no-brainer with the plate. I mean, there was absolutely nothing wrong with the plate. The plate was absolutely fantastic. But if we're going to bring the emphasis behind the message and say, hey, let's put the message behind more whole food, then I'm with it. But in terms of the
I like
plate, it
that.
was, I mean, the plate's fantastic. It's still my plate.
All right. I love it. I love that. And sometimes you need the shock of it all. Like even the fact that the pyramid is upside down. Sometimes we need kind of that new something different, something to grab the attention of the American people. So I can appreciate that part as well. Maybe the plate was boring. Who knows?
But I will say
But
this. No, I would say this about the whole thing. No, I would say that at least when we come to the orientation of the food pyramids and where they kind of defer. Of course, when you push up whole fat, dairy, and red marble meats and push down the whole grains and processed foods, I think we all can agree that the processed foods can come down. Now, if people agree about the increased, saturated fat, that's a preference thing. I'm gonna
yeah.
stay there, but we're
Hmm.
having this conversation about fitness, and I feel
Yeah.
that no matter what food plan you follow, if your fitness is on par, then you can kind of use that as a buffer.
A little bit of a buffer. So, that was really feeding right into the next question. When you look at good nutrition, what shift do you typically suggest when physical activity comes into the picture? There is this saying or this idea that, you can't outwork out outwork out a bad diet. And they really have to pair together. And oftentimes people, when they're active and they're trying to eat the same thing, that maybe they're not seeing their results. So can you just kind of share when we talk about, you know, outside of preferences, obviously eating real food, what shifts are needed when physical activity comes into the picture?
Yeah, we start talking about energy balance then we start moving into things like when one of the hot topics, a lot of people start to talk about macros at that point. So when you start to bring fitness into the ball game, we start talking about, well, how much protein are you consuming so that you can meet that or match that energy, what you're requiring or desiring, especially if you're talking about supporting lean body mass. Now we're saying the limiting factor is going to be how much energy do you have, which is overall calories, and then how much protein. Those are usually your showstoppers in terms of getting the most return on investment in terms of your physical fitness. Outside of that, the focus. I usually tell people when I coach people like this, your health is becoming a millionaire. When you start talking about nutrition for fitness, we're talking about being a multi-millionaire. So you can do a lot
Oh,
of the
all
same, right?
right.
You can do a lot of the
Yes.
same things. You don't have to be only healthy to achieve these goals. But when you talk about achieving goals like fitness and combining nutrition with fitness, now we're talking about achieving. So the focus does become a little bit more narrow and a little bit more focused.
Now, do you typically suggest Like how is this implemented? And I guess there are different ways. There are some people who count the calories. So when you're talking about energy, right? We're talking about calories consumed. And what would be your best route? I mean, do you typically suggest a diary? I guess with your clients, are they keeping a diary and then bringing that to you and then you're making adjustments? Or do you suggest that they're tracking it through an app? And let's start there and then I'll ask my follow-up question after.
Yeah. So this is going to boil down to another preference thing as well. You always have those people who really want to go pen and pad. It helps with
Mhm.
accountability. And then now, these apps are so just ahead of the game. Technology is
Mhm.
just soaring, it's just changing every day. And now we have things like taking a picture of the food in your plate and it kind of grabbing that image and telling you exactly what it is from a breakdown perspective. Now, of course, it's getting better and better, but that's where we're at right now in 2026.
So I've heard of those. I've never used them. So are you finding that they're pretty accurate?
Oh yeah, I mean, I have people using it every day. So when people connect in with me and we're consulting every day, that's kind of what we do. We
Mhm.
pull up their food journal from these apps that they have, and sure enough, the pictures are computed and you can see the macros pop up, the carbohydrates, the fat. Now you may be having to go in and tweak a few things here and there to make it exact, but for the most
Mhm.
part, it's grabbing your meals and it's calculating it for you.
Wow. And so when you're seeing that and you're working with your clients, um, so first, before I do that, before I ask you that, because I was going to ask, what are you finding that you're needing to tweak or that people aren't getting as much of? But before I ask that question, it depends on the client, right? So are you seeing primarily clients that's coming in wanting to lose weight or build? Kind of what are people, what's motivating people to come to you? Because I know you're a diabetes, educator as well. So or are you seeing all of the above?
Well, that's a really good question. So usually people will come in with certain goals and aspirations, and then things usually typically tweak. So they'll come in and say, "Hey, I want to take care of my blood sugar, or I want to make sure that my cholesterol is in check." And then they leave, and they're like, "You know what? I want those things and some." So aesthetics
Uh-huh.
is always a goal because when you look good, you feel good.
Mhm.
And that usually transfers into just overall feeling and looking good and feeling good. So they
Yeah.
come in one way and then they leave, obviously, with more goals. So
So with that, are you finding kind of a common focus for your different, the patients or clients that's coming in where you almost always have to tweak this one thing? Either they're getting not enough of this particular nutrient or too much. And what are some of those commonalities that you're seeing?
sure. So, a lot of times, like with you and I, you're in a studio, I'm working from home. Vitamin D is one of those things that when we start to filter through what's happening with people, you know, uh, I'm fatigued. I feel like I'm drained out of energy. I'm taking like double naps within a day. Like this is different. What we tend to
Mhm.
see is that for people who are working from home, it's getting cool outside or across the country for many people. Vitamin D is one of those things that people run deficient in.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it does impact them. Also, just overall protein. People are
Yeah.
just not eating enough protein, which is why I love the new message. Everything is about protein. So in the
Yeah.
90s, it was all low fat, and then in the
Right.
in the two that we still kind of coming out of the low carb era, but now everything is all about promoting more
Yeah.
protein. So I like this inclusive, positive insight into nutrition now, as opposed to take it away, restrict, restrict, restrict. So I'm loving the
That
way
is
we're going.
very interesting. Yeah, I was kind of thinking that protein was going to be it. And so listen, if you're listening to this podcast, and I know sometimes we just see all this stuff on TikTok and these places where, protein maxing then there's the fiber maxing. And sometimes you feel like, this is just a trend. You're hearing it from a registered dietitian that's seeing clients all day long, and he is finding that yes, we do need to focus on protein.
Not at
And
all.
so when we look at protein, what are some of your tips
Mhm.
to help people first find that sweet spot, because there is a range. So finding how much do I need, and then how can I get it?
I love it. Now, this is one that a lot of people are in the grips and wrestling about, which is, we can kind of start turning our heads and ears and tuning it to the new guidelines. And the
Mhm.
guidelines are now pushed up, which I love. They doubled the guidelines now. Went from point 8, I believe, to
Mhm.
1.6 now, 1.6 to 1.8, which is double what it was prior. And the message is that, listen, when people are eating more protein, which is what most people are missing in their food plan overall, you're going to have so many of those benefits for satiety. Protein does so much of a job with hair, skin, and nails. It does so much of a job with
Oh.
just signaling signaling all of your mechanisms inside of your body to make all the communication work well. So protein just does a bang up job. So we need to
Mhm.
get more of it. And I like that as the message now with the new guidelines, and even the
Mhm.
new food pyramid is pushing in that way as well. It works. That's
Mhm.
the message. It's pretty. It's loud.
And so are you suggesting a specific amount with each meal, or like, how are people getting this protein, and do you find that people are able to meet, like, why is there so much of a struggle with people getting the protein? I'm trying to kind of dig a little deeper
Mhm.
there. Is it that we are not eating the protein foods, or people just, there's so much, it's just hard to get because the requirements are so high and we're
That's a
filling them
great
in with other
question.
things?
That is a wonderful question. Now I have my own. There's nothing evidence based about it. I just have my own hunches from what
Yeah,
I
that's
what
what I
I,
want to
I have
hear.
experienced. Yeah, this is just from
Mhm.
my experience. I think that most people don't get enough protein because they're not prepping. I think it's a job. You have to be
Mm.
very intentional about protein. Very intentional about protein and having access to it. So again, if the consensus is to eat more real food, then guess what? That kind of takes down the protein bars. That kind of takes away the protein shakes. Not all the way,
Oh,
but it
wait a
kinda
minute. No,
minimizes some of
no,
those
but
things, right?
yes, you're right. And so, yes, how do we do this with real food? What are some of your top suggestions?
I like to start early and start often. So if you start the
Okay.
day with protein, many people don't start the day with breakfast. So that's another reason why a lot of people are missing the mark in terms of fiber and protein. They don't have,
Mhm.
they skip meals, they skip breakfast. When you skip breakfast, guess what happens when that appetite starts to growl on you? Then you kind of are subject to just settling for anything. So you're not looking for probably protein and fiber. You're looking for the first thing you can get your hands on. So when people
Mhm.
are kind of making uh, and being very intentional for that first meal, to have that protein, typically they'll do a lot better with what I have seen in my practice for achieving
Mhm.
that protein goal within a day.
Yeah, so we're starting early. So tip, what I'm hearing is don't skip breakfast. Now, are you like an eggs, meat? I guess if we're looking at the pyramid now, you're gonna have some chicken and some eggs, and so what
Butter
are
on my
some
steak.
other
No, just joking.
or order up a, hey, I've seen the steak and eggs now for breakfast at the different diners and places like that. So what would be an ideal breakfast, some breakfast suggestions that people can incorporate to start early?
Mhm. There's so many, and again, if people are really looking to kind of link in one on one, we have a plethora of dietitians on the team to help people with these ideas. But what comes to
Mhm.
mind first, some of the most popular telltale ones are to include more protein at breakfast time. You can do things. People even turn to things like fish. Like people can do salmon in the
Uh-huh.
morning with
Mhm.
whatever their morning routine is. You can also do Greek yogurt because that's a plethora amount of protein. You also have
Mhm.
cottage cheese, which is a decent amount of protein as well, which got some of that saturated fat that has been pushed back up to the top now with the new recommended guidelines. You
Mhm.
also can do things like, of course, you have your eggs in different types of ways. You can boil them, fry them. The recommended thing now, I don't want people to think that eggs are just off the table because of the
Mhm.
cholesterol. We know that we can have 1 to 2 for most people and be perfectly fine with the
Uh-huh.
eggs.
Mhm.
And yeah, those are our biggest ones though. If people are just kind of looking for easy ways to kind of implement more protein at breakfast times.
All right, so I'm gonna throw in one. We didn't talk about this, but what about the people who are on weight loss medications
Okay,
and they just don't even have the appetite for it?
sure.
And then whenever they are eating it, maybe they're dealing with some of the side effects, some indigestion. They really can't eat the amount of food sometimes that's needed. And I've experienced that before where I've tried. I've At one point I was like, it's all about protein. And my husband was helping me, and I said, okay, let's go it, let's do it. And then I would get to the point where it's like, babe, I'm full. I can't eat anymore. I don't know how I'm going to get this protein in me because I just feel like I can't. I'm too full. It's too much food for me. And so I don't know. Again, this is kind of a one-on-one kind of question, but I'm sure there are other people out there, especially
Absolutely.
with people being on weight loss medication. So how would you navigate that with those individuals?
So definitely, it's going to be par for the course when it comes to appetite and medication and kind of juggling your protein. So there's also tips that we can use to come up with tools. Now I know I just said that we want to minimize a lot of our process even when it comes to protein, but
Hmm.
if the shoe fits, we got to do what we have to do to make it to wear it right. So when it comes to GLP-1 and tolerating protein, we say if we have to supplement, then that's what we'll do to at least meet that protein goal. Now, the issue
Okay.
with GLP-1 is not necessarily the medication in itself. Of course, if people are dealing with some of the side effects like
Hmm.
GI issues and things like that, then of course, yes, we'll kind of address those things. But for the most part, most people are tolerating protein, but most people are dealing and battling with getting those processes down for remembering to eat so that way they don't run the risk of
Ah.
malnourishment. And I'll be the
Uh-huh.
first one to say this, and people can take this one, take it to the bank. Malnutrition will kill you fast. Overnutrition will kill you slow. So you're better off overeating than you are undereating. And these are
Oh.
facts. The worst thing you can do is undereat. And now you're tapping into lean body mass. You're tapping into your bone mineral density. It's just not good.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
coach people to eat. How do we break through those barriers while on GLP-1? Well, we space those meals. We're very intentional with that protein. If we have to drink protein shakes or even protein bars for that matter, for if we have to
Mhm.
tolerate it, then we'll go that route. But we have to remember to eat because at the end of the day, when the results are made, we got to make sure that we're doing things that we were already doing as opposed to getting the results and we're looking around like, well, what do we do next?
Right, right. And you're finding people are able to kind of maintain their lean mass on the GLP medications?
If they're eating adequate amount of energy and protein, yes.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes. But the idea behind the GLP-1 is getting assistance with the appetite. Okay, cool. We have the appetite that has assistance. It's not kind of itching us that much. We don't have that much food noise, is what we're calling it.
Mhm.
Very well. But don't allow that to be the bulk of what's getting you these results. We
Yeah.
have to have our routines on par so that when the weight is done, the results are achieved. We can just continue to walk through the gate.
Now, do you have any other kind of back pocket things that you suggest for people who are, again, they're active they are trying to maintain muscle mass or even build muscle mass outside of food. Like any add-ins. I'm just curious your take on like creatine and some of the other things that can just help support um, just building muscle or even recovery, like any nutritional recovery strategies that you can suggest for our listeners.
Well, protein is going to, here we go again.
Yeah, back to protein.
Protein is going to be one of our number one, number one uh, recovery foods. Also a good
Mhm,
combination of carbohydrates as well. So when we're dealing with food outside of the carbohydrates and outside of the protein, which is going to help recover the body, we can also look into supplementation. So uh, some of the main supplementations that does help specifically with recovery, maybe
mhm.
even supplements like collagen and chondroitin, which does with
Okay.
anti-inflammation, which is also good
Mhm,
for the joints. So I don't know what type of exercise bouts that people are into, but this
mhm,
is more so would be considered like your uh, accessory type of deal. So meeting the body's demand of what you're doing to it. So,
mhm.
I like a good uh, fish oil supplement. That'll
Uh-huh.
be good for our active people to lubricate the joints. We know that
Mhm,
for a really good recovery supplement.
mhm.
And zinc and magnesium is fantastic for sleep. So which also helps with recovery.
I love that. I love that. So you are listening to Marcus Harris, our registered dietitian and diabetes educator. Marcus, can in closing, that first of all, this has been fantastic and it's great to hear it directly from someone who's helping to meet people right where they are and to support their nutrition goals. Oftentimes, we are told that, check with your doctor on this. And if you need some help, and even the doctors are the ones, prescribing these GLP-1 medications or sometimes giving you the suggestions. Okay, your A1C is up. You need to cut back on carbs, or oh, you have high cholesterol, you need to give up the red meat. And these are, I'm talking, your medical doctors
Sure.
giving you this advice, but you're the expert. And so the question that I have for you is how can people find access to you or people that nutrition experts, professionals, how are they coming to you and what is that process like?
hmm Well, I think we're living in a time right now where nutrition access and access to nutrition services have never been more accessible. Hands down. I mean, it's moving at lightning speed. I'm talking about even a year ago, we couldn't say that these many people were having this amount of engagement with registered dietitians. So there's a lot of companies out there that's out there on the line that you can engage with virtually,
Mhm,
kind of like what we're doing right now. But people can reach me at 2020nutrition.net. That is my website. And we have
mhm,
a team of registered dietitians with different specialties, from
mhm.
eating disorders to diabetes education to performance nutrition to heart health. And we all assist people with whatever their needs may be. So we can all be found right on the internet. You can search us, Google us, and you can kind of take it from there. So we're also on social media. As you know, I don't know how much we talked about it, but I also do natural bodybuilding, which is drug tested bodybuilding. And we see a lot of athletes there as well. So, mhm.
Well, this is fantastic information, and thanks for sharing all the ways that people can connect with a nutrition professional. I think the biggest message is don't try to do it on your own. If you're struggling, then seek the expert that can help you. And I appreciate you for being one of those experts, Marcus. And thank you for coming on our show.
You got it. I just wanted to let everybody know as well, just as a finisher, that not only can people see registered dietitians and have access, but most people pay zero out of pocket because it's part of your preventative care. So there we have it.
All right. I love to hear that part too. So again, this is access covered by your insurance to a registered dietitian. So take advantage of those benefits that people, many people don't even know about it. So thank you for sharing that information.
You're welcome.
All right. You're listening to Live Foreverish. Hey, how did you all like that show? We have so many additional episodes brought to you by Life Extension. You can just head over to liveforeverish.com and we cover all sorts of topics from nutrition to heart health to liver health to detox. I mean, you can search our bank, and I'm sure there is a show that just has your name written on it. So again, that is at liveforeverish.com. And our sponsor, Life Extension, would like to say thank you. If you head over to lifeextension.com, look around. If you see something that you like, add it to your cart. And at the cart, put in the code podcast to receive 10% off, $50 or more, plus free shipping and handling. Again, that is at lifeextension.com. And remember, if you want more of our shows, if you don't want to miss a show, then you have to subscribe. You can watch us on YouTube .com/life extension wellness. You'll be able to see the video version of our podcast. Subscribe, like, ring the bell, give us a comment. Really just give us a rating. We need some ratings so that we can rank up there in Apple Music and Spotify and all those listening platforms. Wherever you like to hear your podcast, you can find us there and engage with us and let us know if there's a topic that you would like for us to cover, if there's a guest you would like for us to have on the show. We are here for you to keep you infotained. For Live Forever, I'm Dr. Crystal. Thanks for listening.